Good morning. After my 2-week-long adventure with the Chaos.lich, I started to look for the next build project, and since most of my Twitch chat discovered my channel during the Spark Stormweaver times in PoE2's previous league, I decided that it would be a very fitting thing to go for a Spark build next. After 2 days of theory crafting and gathering up the gear pieces, this is now the very bare bones and basically alpha version of this Spark cast on crit Bloodmage. I know Bloodmages are kind of the hot thing right now, especially the T4 one-shotting bleed mages, but I honestly think this version of a more and more popular build is definitely up there in terms of capabilities. Big shout out here to YouTuber and streamer I'm Just Anthony, who with his version of this build got me started on the version that I am currently working on. Go check him out. I will link his channel in the description of this video. Like I said, this is basically day one of actually testing around on the build. Most of this is absolutely due to change, so if you want to stay up to date on this build, the minute I change something about it, the best way to do that is to join us on my Twitch stream. I stream every day and will be mostly focusing on this build for the foreseeable future now, and I'm always happy to answer any questions that may arise. Okay, so with all of that out of the way, let's get into this very early version of the Spark cast on crit Bloodmage. Before we get into all the nuances of this character, I should mention that everything about this will be linked in a full mobalytics guide in the description of this video here. The mobalytics guide that I am currently working on for this character is still very bare bones and under construction, so that will be continuously upgraded in the next few days until it is a fully fledged and finished build guide. So looking at the skill gems here, we can see we are utilizing the Choir of the Storm Jade Amulet. Our Lightning Bolt here without Spell Echo is at a DPS tooltip of 100,000 exactly, with Spell Echo, which is recommended. Like I said, in the mobalytics guide, you can see all the skill gem choices that I'm taking for the differentiating setups. We are still at a DPS tooltip of 70,000 even with Spell Echo. This is facilitated by a critical hit chance of 100%. This is the main reason. After a second reason, we are using the Bloodmage here. We can crit cap very, very easily on this build. And we have a critical damage bonus of also over 600 with 612 here. So very, very high damage. And this is the main reason we use the Bloodmage. The second reason we use the Bloodmage for this build is the use of Blood Magic. I have not gone with the Sanguinemancer head. I chose to go for the Blood Magic node on the passive tree here. And we are also picking up all the jewel sockets on the way there. So that is the main reason we are using the Blood Mage here for this, because we are using Blood Magic. The main reason why most of the cast on crit builds that are using mana are not really working right now, since the Melting Maelstorms fast is not working like it was in the previous league anymore, is the mana bottleneck. With this build on the Blood Mage, since we are leeching everything back, as long as we're dealing damage, we are going to leech all of our life back, and since we're using Blood Magic, we are not really bottlenecked on mana at all. So this is the main reason why we use this ascendancy. I don't know if you can make this work on other ascendancies. There's definitely mana versions you can do for this. The very heavy endgame version for this and the min-max version for this is always, in my opinion, going to be on a Blood Mage. So we are using a Lightning Bolt with concentrated effect, considered casting, deliberation, and Spell Echo for as much damage as possible. The Life Remnants node from our ascendancies is with Dissipate, with Magnetism and Mysticism. Spark is going to be used with Fork, Persistence, Acceleration, Arcane Tempo, and Elemental Focus. For bossing, you don't really need Fork. Like I said, there is going to be 2 different setups for the skill gems in the mobalytics planner. For bossing, in this case, you can also, for example, use Pierce, for example, or whatever is going to be tested by us in the next few days. So this is Spark with Fork, Persistence, Acceleration, Arcane Tempo, and Elemental Focus in this case. Cast on Critical, we are using Arc with Impetus, Energy Retention, Inspiration, and another Arc to get the loop of Cast on Criticals. Orb of Storm is mainly there for bossing to facilitate a lightning exposure with the help of Strip Away and lightning exposure here. And also we are trying to get as much shock on the bosses as possible. And since we are using elemental focus on Spark, we do not apply shock with Spark. But we can apply Orb of Storms, we can apply shock with Orb of Storms, and also we are using Conduction for this one to get a higher chance to shock, and also we are using Overcharge to get a more magnitude of shock. So Orb of Storms with Conduction, Overcharge, Lightning Exposure, Strip Away, and Magnified Effect. On Weapon Swap, we are using Blink, Sigil of Power, Soul Offering, and Skeletal Cleric for the Soul Offering for our nice damage boost. And for bossing, this is not really needed, but the extra 30 spirit we have in this case are used for Arctic Armor with Inevitable Critical, Cold Mastery, Bludgeon, and Glaciation. This is, like I said, still completely in the works. I feel like we will drop Arctic Armor at some point. Maybe we do not even need the extra spirit that we have extra to the 100 that we have from the campaign. I will test around with this. I don't know if we really need Arctic Armor. It is super nice as another defensive layer, but we will test it and we will see. If we can not get extra spirit other than the 100 we get from the campaign, we should probably get an even more insane body armor, so that will be also tested in the future. That is the skill gems for this character for bossing for now. Going over the gear, we will of course start with the wand. The stat priority on the wand is always going to be level of lightning spell skills. You can get a +5, you can get a +4. If you are just starting out with this, you can also get a +3. The most important stat is always going to be that. The second most important is always going to be spell damage or lightning damage as high as possible, of course. And then also really, really important for this build, obviously, when we are trying to crit cap or get our crit as high as possible, it is going to be increased critical hit chance for spell. Getting cast speed is also something you can absolutely get on the wand here. That is mainly going to be for mapping though, and it will make the build feel much smoother due to the getting down of the cast time on Spark. If you get the cast time down on Spark, that means the movement speed penalty that you normally get when actually casting Spark is not as harsh anymore, and it makes the build feel faster and smoother. It is not going to increase our main damage, which is the lightning bolt from the Choir of the Storm. So getting cast speed is a nice bonus. It feels good when mapping. It will not really increase our damage when we actually do damage to pinnacle bosses, for example, or anything else, because our main damage dealer is going to be Arc, and it is going to be the lightning bolt from the Choir of the Storm. It will increase the tooltip damage. It is a bait pretty much, so cast speed is nice to have, but not really needed in this case. Next thing is going to be the helmet. The stat priority here is going to be ES, as much maximum life as possible, and also critical hit chance on the helmet. The helmet is actually a big part of getting critical hit chance. Like I have seen in other builds that are doing the blood magic thing, some are using the Sanguine Mancer. I'm not a big fan. I'd much rather go for blood magic on the passive tree, because what we get as an upside on the helmet here is energy shield, maximum life. We still get the critical hit chance that the Sanguine Mancer has as well, and we get up to 3 reses as well. So I am a big fan of getting a normal helmet here. Overall, I should also say I am still on a hybrid chest here, and I am not really stacking any energy shield so far. I think the main end goal of this is going to be to get as much energy shield on the flat bases as possible. I don't really see a point in getting armor at all here. The energy shield might provide a little bit of a new safe defensive layer in the future, so I am gonna keep looking for high ES bases for this. But also the most important thing is going to be here maximum life. That is the main reason we are going to be tanky, or we are gonna try to get this as tanky as possible. And also, of course, due to the Bloodmage ascendancy, we are getting critical damage bonus from our maximum life. So priority number 1, defensively, always going to be as much maximum life as possible. If you can also then get high ES bases, that's a nice bonus. Next thing is going to be the focus here. I'm going with the normal focus. I'm not going with the unique focus so far. We are going to test out the unique focus. The thing about that is that has shot up in price massively over the past few days due to the popularity of Bloodmage right now. So I am going with a normal focus for now. We are going to test the unique focus for sure in the next few days though on stream. So if you want to see the focus for this build, the unique focus, then yeah, tune into the stream. Focus, spell priority is going to be level of our spell skills, then lightning damage or spell damage again. You can also get a focus with some high energy shield, that's nice. And again, just like on the wand, you want as much critical hit chance for spells as possible. If you can get cast speed again on the focus, or if you can get some extra res on the focus as well, that's a nice bonus again. Rings is going to be maximum life, lightning damage, if you can get it, cast speed, and reses. In this case, I'm also going with rarity, of course. I'm slowly trying to get the rarity up. This very bare bones and first version of the build is not really high rarity right now. I think it's around 60 or something. The end goal, especially for mapping, is going to be getting the rarity up to around 100. So on the rings, I'm also getting some rarity. In this case, fire res and maximum life and lightning damage. So stat priority for rings, reses, lightning damage, maximum life. Those ones you absolutely want all the time. Next thing is going to be the chest here. I am going with spirit here. Of course, we need 45 extra spirit for the setup that I'm using right now. We will test in the next few days to get a chest without spirit and then not use Arctic armor and not use mysticism. So we only need 100 spirit so we can get maybe an insane chest with high ES and high maximum life and tri-res. We will see about that. We will test it. Like I said as well, it will all be updated as soon as we get it. Again, stat priority on the chest, maximum life, tri-res, and then in this case, it's not the case right now, but it will be ES as the next one. At series acuity are the core for this build here. I don't think you can go without a serious acuity in this build because the instant leech is basically facilitating that we are not dying every 30 seconds or something. A serious acuity provides us with a lot of critical hit chance, which we need, of course, and the leech that is instant from critical hits is very important for this build. So a serious acuity with as much critical hit chance as possible. If you can get the double socket corruption, that's even better. So a serious acuity. Belt is going to be, again, maximum life. Like I said, on anything that you get here, you want as much maximum life as possible. Belt, very important to get as much maximum life. I would definitely recommend to get the heavy belt base. You want, of course, 3 charm slots, but the main reason to get the heavy belt base here is going to be the increased stun threshold. So we are getting flat stun threshold in this case on the boots and on the belt. And then we have increased stun threshold from the heavy belt base. This is going to massively increase our chances in not getting stunned. I have not really noticed getting stunned so far in maps at all. So this is a very important thing as well to make the build feel much better. So stat priority for belt, maximum life, stun threshold, and then reses, of course. Boots, again, movement speed, of course, and again, maximum life and reses, and in this case also some flat stun threshold. Charms, I'm using Thawing Charm, Nascent Hope, I'm using the Silver Charm, Fall of the Axe, and the Stun Charm. You don't need any of these unique charms, just as you don't need the Oros Flask. I am just testing it right now, and I wanted to make it as smooth as possible, so I invested a little bit in this testing process here. That is going to be it for the gear. Like I said multiple times now, this is due to change pretty much every single day. I am going to be working on this build for the foreseeable future, and everything is just due to change. So I will just say it again, if you want to stay up to date every time I change anything about this build and watch the build progress, I will update on YouTube, of course, as much as possible as well. But the best way is to just join the Twitch stream and just see what I'm doing with the build every single day. So let's go quickly over the passive tree. On the passive tree, of course, we are going with the Bloodmage Ascendancy into Vitality Siphon and Sunder the Flesh. This is basically standard for this type of build. Other than that, on the passive tree, we are going into every single node we can get on critical hit chance and critical damage bonus. The thing here is, basically, the general rule here is you want as much critical hit chance as you can get. And after you are able to get critical hit chance to 100, then you can get critical damage bonus. So there are a few nodes you can leave out if you already have the critical hit chance capped at 100, and then you just have to test around which nodes you are going to be taking and which nodes you can not take to be capped on crit. So general rule, critical hit chance as much as possible, and if you are able to get crit capped, you can then go into critical damage bonus and get it as high as possible. You can get it on every single jewel, of course. The jewels can always have double crit chance, so increased critical hit chance, increased critical hit chance for spells, and then you can get elemental damage, spell damage, triggered spells, deal more damage, something like that. Critical damage bonus you can also get on these ones, so you can just test around and you can just use jewels pretty much to get your critical hit chance up, so you don't have to take all the notes for this, and then you can fill the gaps basically with more jewels with critical damage bonus, for example, everything you can get, and then you can make this as good as possible. This passive tree setup here has actually 8 jewel slots. I don't think I've seen a passive tree setup so far that has 8 jewel slots in this patch with the reduced jewel slots here. So jewels are going to be an extremely important point here to get your critical hit chance up, to get your critical damage bonus up in order to crit cap and get the critical damage bonus as high as possible. Jewels are going to be very, very important here. So either you go for a critical hit chance and critical hit chance for spells on them to get critical hit chance as high as possible. And then after you hit 100, then you can go for jewels like this with critical damage bonus and critical spell damage bonus to get the bonus up as high as possible. So that is going to be the passive tree. Like I said, the passive tree will of course also be in the mobalytics, both of the versions. And as soon as something changes in the passive tree, it will be updated there as well. The passive tree will probably look a lot different for you. Like I said, it is going to depend on how much crit you have on your gear and then which nodes you have to take. If you do not have as much critical hit chance on your gear as I have, for example, you might need to take some more nodes like True Strike here, for example, for more critical hit chance, or these smaller nodes for critical hit chance. It entirely depends on your build setup overall. But I will say it again, important, you want a crit cap, and then after crit capping, you go into critical damage bonus. So this is going to conclude this very first update on this build. I will update everything as soon as it happens. And like I said multiple times now, to stay up to date, just join the Twitch stream if you are interested in this build, if you want to see me playing this build in the next few days. I will update as much as I can. I really, really prefer this version of just doing build updates rather than just doing a full build guide and then everything just changes the next day and then we cannot update again. So I will just keep updating this build as much as possible. I will keep playing this. So if you want to play this build too, and you have any questions about it, join the stream or drop a comment here. I would appreciate a like, a subscribe, whatever. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you soon. Love you. Bye.